Good afternoon, North Andover School community, students, staff, and families. My name is Dr. Greg Gilligan, Superintendent of Schools, and I'm here to provide an update on reopening schools in the fall for 2020. Undoubtedly, the fall will look different than it did last March and when we were in school full-time. There's a lot of anxiety around what the plans will be and how we are planning to open. Folks want to know, what is North Andover doing? What is the schedule going to be? Are we going to be in person full-time, and what are the restrictions? Do we have to wear masks? Are we going to be in a hybrid model where students are in or out, or are we going to be out completely remotely? With that anxiety, we want to ensure that we meet the social and emotional learning needs of our students and attend to the worries that parents and staff have about returning safely. Our goal for the fall is to return as many students as we can in person to meet their learning and holistic needs, as long as we can do so in a safe manner. Process overview. So, part of the process in North Andover is looking at the guidance from the state, collecting feedback from all the stakeholders, parents, staff, students, families, and that's really played a key role in our planning. I would also say that pre-planning has played a key role in North Andover as we started to prepare for some of those unknowns well before the state provided their guidance on June 25th. DESE guidance came out on June 25th, so the state came out with an initial fall memo and have followed up with some additional FAQs, which you can find on our website at northandoverpublicschools.com, with a focus on health and safety requirements for in-person learning, reopening plans to address remote, hybrid, or in-person learning with the safety precautions in place, and a plan for them to produce additional guidance for districts. Getting students and educators back to school in person relies on a combination of strategies, and the state is really emphasizing, and why we have one of the lowest transmission rates right now is due to wearing masks and face coverings, and that's something that we'd require in schools 2 to 12, and they're recommending K-1. Physical distancing, hand washing, and really staying home when you're sick. Each district needs to plan for 3 possibilities on a continuum of reopening. We've met all week as a district task force, using our parent feedback, the surveys, taking information from our teaching working group to really flesh out what does in-person learning look like in North Andover with the safety requirements in place. We're also conducting a feasibility study and a stress test looking at how many students we can fit under the requirements of a minimum distancing of 3 feet. We're also fleshing out different hybrid models where students may learn in person and also participate in remote learning. And much of what happens for the fall will really depend on the state of the virus in August and some of the decisions made by state officials that if it had changed, we would have to go to a remote learning environment. And remote learning may also be something it is something we're looking at if students may not be able to return or parents may not feel comfortable in sending their students back to school. A huge part of what we've done and the planning that's taken place and the components of reopening school in a safe way that's best for staff and students and for our community has involved community feedback and input from our parents, participating in focus groups led by our parent advisory group, and through surveys, our students through a focus group, our staff participating in the teachers working group, as well as we're meeting constantly, weekly with the union leadership and the North Andover Teachers Association. We're actually planning to work with them to expand to get even a further perspective from teachers through teacher-led focus groups in a collaborative effort between the superintendent's office and the union leadership. As you can imagine, I stay in close contact with the North Andover School Committee. They've been an outstanding support, and they provide me with information as they get from their constituents about perspectives, and I provide them with updates. It's an amazing partnership, and I feel fortunate to lead in a district with such a supportive group of elected officials. Town officials and health and safety officials, from public safety to the director of public health, and Melissa Murphy-Rodriguez has been meeting with me weekly. She's been a tremendous support and help as we work to safely and best provide educational options for our students here in North Andover in the fall. Our working groups are the District Leadership Task Force, which has been working well before DESE guidance came out. Our Summer Institute Working Group is our teaching working group, which consists of teachers from across all levels, all content areas, representing each and every school in North Andover. Our Parent Advisory Group, I can't say enough about the work they have done running parent focus groups, really hearing what parents have to say, not only about their experiences with remote learning in the spring, when we face this unprecedented crisis, but also about what are the needs for students going forward, and how does that perspective help us shape what we do so that we can provide the best model for North Andover based on the health guidelines, and then pivot seamlessly if we have to in between models. Staff representatives from the union, this is something we'll be doing next week to get additional staff feedback, a collaborative effort between the superintendent's office and union leadership to get additional staff perspectives. They've all been working on that. We have that teachers working group, but we're also, they've been providing very valuable information through surveys. Our school-based teams are formed with key players, with the principals leading those teams, and then key members of the school to help operationalize plans as we move forward from now until school reopens. And then our public health working group, I can't say enough about our school nurse admin, Cheryl Bazak, working closely with the town nurse, Brian LaGrasse, the Director of Public Health, along with Public Safety, Facilities, DPW, and the folks from Dr. Mealy's office. Key focus areas for all models to return to school. This is what we decided were key priorities as a district to look at, regardless of what model we go with, or based on where the virus is that puts us in that direction. So the key focus areas for the models to return to school, the key areas as we look at them are equity and access. Can we provide food for students? Do they have devices? Do they have internet access at home, which ties into technology? Mr. Grant's working very hard at this time, applying for a technology grant through the state. We've ordered 2,400 new Chromebooks, worked on upgrading the infrastructure, and we're working very hard so that we can provide a device to students who need them for any of the models in which we move forward with. Special education and students on 504s, making sure that we are meeting those needs as outlined in IEPs, teaching and learning, using and developing the best strategies for each of the models to best provide content delivery to students. Operations, and that includes transportation, food services, sanitization, purchase of PPE. We're very fortunate that Dr. Mealy, the Assistant Superintendent of Finance and Operations, had the foresight to work with facilities in the town to order PPE early on in the spring in preparation for the fall. Health and safety, as I mentioned before, that is the top priority for our staff, students, and families in North Andover. What does an in-person return look like keeping kids safe and staff safe? What does it look like keeping everyone safe in a hybrid model? And what do we need to do as a town and a district to ensure their safety is the #1 priority, which ties right into social emotional learning. As I mentioned earlier on, folks may have anxiety about returning to school, and we need to meet those needs of our students so they can attend to academics. And communication. You can expect communication, not only weekly updates from the superintendent, but from the schools as well. They'll be providing updates as we proceed through the summer months. What to expect? Communication. As I just mentioned, I plan on providing an update regularly. I think feedback, you've been very responsive to the surveys and they've been very helpful in our planning of models for the fall. Check out our website, northandoverpublicschools.com. There's a dedicated spot for NA school returns with all of the notices that have been sent out. Be on the lookout as well for school committee. Our next meeting is July 30th, and we will have a presentation of our draft plans that are due on the 31st to DESE. And throughout the month of August, We'll be providing and posting further guidance as we receive it from the state, along with continuing adjustments, feedback, and really operationalizing the plans that need to be finalized for an August 10th submittal. The commissioner has asked the districts not finalize any plan until early August as they come up with additional guidelines that will be critical in keeping students, staff, families, everyone safe and healthy, and providing the best environment for our students here in North Andover. And last, I appreciate everyone's support and patience. We have an amazing community of folks that have provided tremendous perspectives, always willing to go the extra mile and do whatever it takes to support students. And together, we will make it through with the best model that works for North Andover, keeping students and staff healthy and safe and best meets the academic and social emotional learning needs of our kids. We can do this and we can do it together. Please stay tuned. Thank you for your patience, support, and we'll be following up with additional communications.